We were both in Indy at Lucas Oil Stadium where Adam Silver did his, State of the NBA address. And one of the interesting questions came about the future of the G League Ignite, especially in the wake of all the NIL stuff in college basketball. And we have to say, in the new collective bargaining agreement where people thought high school kids were going to be able to come straight to the draft, that did not happen. There's still the age limit. And now in the wake of all of this new way to make money in college basketball, has the G League Ignite become more obsolete quickly or more quickly than anyone could have ever expected?
It's funny because when we looked at the G League Ignite this season, coming into this season, and you looked at the talent that they had, Ron Holland was a projected top 2, top 3 pick. Modest Buzelis, top 5 pick. You even had Ethan Amansa, Tyler Smith from the Overtime Elite. They were considered first-round picks. Cherry Darlin from NBA Academy in Africa. He was considered a first-round pick. And so you had all of these NBA scouts that were excited to go see their exhibition games in September when the Perth Wildcats came over from Australia to play in a pair of games. I was there. There were about 100 NBA scouts and executives. And it was Alex Sarr, the 7'1" center who is French, but playing over in Australia, that just completely shocked all NBA scouts and executives. And they were like, okay, this is our guy. This is the guy that we care about, not these players for the Ignite. And then as the season went on with the Ignite, they couldn't win a single game. I was at their first game. They lost by 65 points to the Salt Lake City Stars. 68 points. And you're telling me you guys have 5 NBA players, 3 first rounds, 2 lottery picks, and you lose by 68 points? And so from then, it was just, I would check every box score and they were losing by 30, 40 points. You go to the Winter Showcase in Orlando and it's just hard to watch. You can't even get a good read for who these prospects are because the games are so lopsided and you don't know how they're going to be in a plug and play situation at the NBA level. And so for that reason, I mean, you have frustration from the scouts' perspective saying, look, we can't watch this. And then you have frustration from the players' perspective saying, like, this is horrible. We're playing in front of 20 fans each and every night because we can't win games. You have players like Ron Holland, who has a thumb injury, shutting it down for the season. And so you take all that into consideration. They're not making any money. It's not going to be good for recruiting in the future with trying to land other top players. You're competing with NIL. It's no longer, hey, Scoot Henderson, we're going to throw you $1 million for 2 years and you're going to flourish and become a top 3 pick. Jalen Green, Jonathan Kuminga, come here. You're going to play NBA rules, NBA spacing, and we're going to get you ready for the NBA. That's not going to cut it anymore because of NIL, because of college basketball and how you kind of get more out of scouting watching them play against peers than you do with the Ignite, seeing them try to battle maybe some players that are twice their age. So NIL has a lot to do with it. And also the fact that just the competition is so lopsided and you cannot go and get a good read for these prospects.
Now, it seems like Adam Silver was leaving the door open to significant changes. Adam doesn't really like to hedge in that way. He doesn't like to say things are going to happen and then back away from them. Now, the NBA seems to be investing in the Nike EYBL and the Scholastic League. Is that going to be more prominent than the G League Ignite as we move forward?
I think that's going to be a focus for sure. I mean, when you saw the NBA start to broadcast games from Peach Jam this past year with Cooper Flagg, with AJ DeBonsa coming up, Dylan Harper coming up, that's showing an investment in the youth. And then when the EYBL started the Scholastic League this year with the top 10, top 12 high school teams, high school prep teams in the country, allowing NBA scouts to go to certain events. So I called the games in Las Vegas when there were, several games played during the in-season tournament, kind of pairing that with the NBA. I think we're going to see more of that. The NBA Global Academy has really showed some progress in terms of prospects coming out of those situations. So when Adam Silver talked about investing in youth and development, he really was honing in on, the difference between European and America, and in America, it's highlight culture. It's not necessarily development. And a lot of people took offense to that, but he's not wrong. He's not wrong at all. It's hurting our development. Look at the draft this year, Vinny. I know you don't know a lot about it, but there's a lot of international prospects that are projected towards the top, not college players. And that says a lot about the development.
There's two names here that sounds like food. There's there's literally two names that sound like food, right? And I don't know if John is actually, I'm sure John has spelled the names right. No, actually you spelled the names right because you put them in. Right. One of the Zachary.
Yep.
And I don't know how to pronounce that last name, but you go ahead.
Worcestershire.
That sounds like New Orleans food. Okay, right? And then the other guy,
Tijan.
Okay, I was close, right? All right, go ahead.
Yes, Tijan Salon, Zachary Worcestershire. Yes. Both French prospects. Then we got Nikola Topic coming out of Serbia. Anyways, all that to say, it wouldn't surprise me if an NBA academy in the States was started to try to compete in the same development with the NBA Academy in Australia. I think they have another one I know there's one in Africa. I know they have 3 or 4 around the world. So they've seen success with that. And then also investing in the EYBL and youth in that respect.
Now, call me crazy, KP. And maybe I'm just maybe I'm an old white man, right? Maybe I'm an old white man, a traditionalist, okay? But is there something to the connective tissue of college basketball leading into the NBA where fans get a chance to know who these players are for a couple of years, and then they realize, oh, okay, they're going to the NBA. I can connect with them. It's not like, don't get me wrong, Victor Wembanyama is a phenom in a completely different way. He didn't need to play college basketball. But I feel like a better college basketball product makes for a better NBA product. No disrespect to the G League Ignite and the Overtime Elite and everything else, but is college basketball the best source of American development going into the NBA?
That is a very interesting point, and I think yes, you're right. And here's the thing: everyone always wants to say, "I knew him when." So, say you're a Duke fan, you are right now investing in Cooper Flagg and what he's doing at Mount Verde Academy because he's going to go to Duke. He's the projected #1 pick in the draft. So, say he's at Duke. The next year, maybe it's, I don't know what team, if it's going to be Detroit again, if it's going to be Washington again, and they're continuing to lose games. If you are a Detroit fan and you don't want to see your team lose night after night, you are going to start watching Duke games. It's easier, it's accessible. You're not going to go on the NBA app, or you're not going to go online and try to find an international game to see Nikola Topic or any of these other guys, right? It's the accessibility of the game from college to high school. You can find games, and from NBA to college, you can find games to watch the next prospects coming up.
Yeah, and it's a thing about like trusting in brands. Even if you don't really know college basketball like that, Duke, North Carolina, that those teams mean something. So if someone's playing for that team and they're good, then you trust in their ability to translate that to the next level, as opposed to, like you said, maybe you have to go to an app to watch, an Overtime Elite game, where you got to search to find it somewhere, as opposed to it being on one of the traditional big box networks. Do you think that the G League Ignite will actually still exist a few years from now? Do you think that will be, or do you just think it will be repurposed and look different?
You could say yes to either situation. If they can't get players, no, shut it down. If they can't get these elite players to come and trust their development and trust what they're trying to build for the Ignite in order to prepare them for the best for the NBA, then no, they're going to have to shut it down, because no players equals nothing. So if you are going all in, all chips in on AJ DeBonsa, who right now is the #1 junior in high school and the second best prospect, regardless of class, behind Cooper Flagg. If you don't land AJ DeBonsa and he chooses to go the college route, then it's over. It's game over. And then you see Overtime Elite they've adjusted. They had a Men Nassar for pre-draft. They tried to go that pro route. They've now pivoted and made it more of a prep situation where high school players come, they keep their eligibility. They're in Atlanta, they're in Georgia, they're in a state where you're allowed to have NIL deals. So some of the best players, 5-star Carter Knox, who's a McDonald's All-American, Kevin Knox's little brother, he has a deal with Adidas. So you're still able to play amongst peers, get that NIL money, and keep your college eligibility.